Hello all of you thrill seekers out there, and welcome back to another Planet Coaster video, where today we're going to be doing a behind the scenes of Space Adventure, voted by you guys down in the community tab. So, as you can see here on Space Adventure, we are inside that very first tunnel you guys went through. Obviously inspired by Space Mountain. So, how I made this tunnel is basically very simple. It's essentially just another ride entirely. So in the game, there's a ride called In Descent, the reverse launched freefall, right? And on this coaster, if I move it off to the side, so here's the launched freefall coaster. You can see that we have 3 segments we can choose from. We have our single direction, we have the tunnel section, and of course the tower base. What I used in this video is obviously the tunnel section, and I went over to this tab off to the far right, and here at the bottom we can change the functionality of the lights. Anyways, back over here in the ride itself, what we're going to do is take a quick glance at the showroom, and we will take off the special effects that is making the ride appear very dark. So I use a program here called Reshade, and this is what's making the game appear extremely dark, because the game won't ever actually go this dark unless if you've built your coaster underground. So we're going to go to default preset, and there we go. Here's our default look of the game. As you can see, you can really see the entire ride easily. Over here by the station, it's pretty empty, not really much to go off of. But if you guys would like to see this as a blueprint, let me know down in the comments below, and I will probably expand this part out just a bit. But anyways, moving on. So we have our tunnel up next that you guys have went through with some speakers underneath. And then we turn the corner and we go up our lift hill. And then up here at the top of the lifts, you see the spaceship get lit up, and then, oh no, it gets blown up. So you turn the corner and you start heading down through the layout past an asteroid, and you turn back over here and you shoot at that same laser. There you go. Well done. And then you come back on this side, past the satellite, and then this happens with that spaceship. And you pass 2 more satellites and that's it. It's really a very simple ride. There's not really much happening on here at all. It's just basically going through some small tight turns. Obviously, this is definitely inspired by Space Mountain for the layouts. It's not the same layout, not even close, but it's pretty similar with having, like, you know, sharp turns and then sudden small drops with more turns, and yeah. So how I came around with building this, I built the tunnel first, obviously, just to see what kind of tunnel effects I could use. And once I had it, I then built the layouts around it. And I kind of made it up as I went for this part here. It did go through the layout a bit fast, so it is a bit short of a ride, but whatever. Doesn't really matter, because this was obviously an experiment to see what kind of sci-fi elements I can incorporate into a video, from custom sounds to music, and obviously the visuals itself. And then all of our scenery objects that we have are all held up by scaffolding to make it appear a bit more realistic. But anyway, so that's the ride. I don't really know much else I can talk about for the ride itself here in the game, but we're going to head over to my video editor now to see what kind of sound effects I incorporated and what the purpose of them were. Alright, let's go. Okay, so we are now over inside my video editing software. I use HitFilm Express for all my videos, and you can already see the amount of layers that we have for audio and the singular video layer that we have at the top. So I'm going to go over all the sound effects that we use for this video and what the purpose of them are. So the first layer here is just the sound effects from the game itself, just from the video recording, nothing too special. So we can just mute that for now. And then the second line here is our music that we used. And these last 3 layers are all for sound effects. So layer number 5 here is used for any like airlock stuff. audio 4 is for anything engine related, and then audio 3 is just kind of like surrounding area, but it does incorporate some engine sounds as well. So let's go over the sounds. Alright, so we're just going to stop it there. So we have our airlock at the bottom that you heard. This is the most like dominant sound in that whole section there. Then we have our engine sounds. You really do start to hear that towards the end. And then we have our kind of like our ambiance right here. So we'll give our ambiance a listen to for a second. So that's what you hear surrounding you, is kind of like the audio of the tunnel itself. And then, of course, we have our engine startup. And then it fades out. And the airlock, you heard that dominantly. And then right here, of course, we have the rocket booster themselves as you start to go up the hill. Then the next sound you're going to hear is kind of like an alien communication. There's nothing really importance of it. It's just kind of like a sound effect I decided to incorporate in because I thought it sounded pretty neat. And I thought like maybe it could be the aliens inside the spaceship you saw blown up, or it could be the aliens that are inside the turrets that blew up the spaceship. Honestly, you guys could decide what the story can be. I don't really have much of a story in mind. It's just kind of like randomly built this just to kind of experiment around with like sound effects and stuff. But if you guys want to put a story together for it, by all means, go right ahead. Anyways, this is the alien communication that you heard. And then it fades out. And then, of course, once you go around this corner here, you start to hear the rockets go off again. Like that. And then over here, for our last two layers, this is kind of like you going through tighter corners so that you can dominantly hear the engine a bit more than usual. So if we go around this corner right here, then fades out, and then comes back in around the corner, fades out, and then when we go around another corner, you'll start to hear it again. And then over here in the helix. So yeah, nothing too fancy. And then of course here at the end we have the airlock make its return. Even though there's nothing really there for the sound effects to really work with visually, but I thought it would work for the end scene. And then we do have the alien communication make its return, but it's not really audible. It's just barely there. Anyway, so that's the sound effects. Let's go over the music that we used. So I used two different songs for this creation. The start song that you hear for the pre-lifts is called Event Horizon, and then for the other one it's called Stellar Finale. Now, I was originally going to use Stellar Finale for the entire ride, because it does have another calm intro as well, but I thought that the intro on the Event Horizon song would fit better. Specifically because it does have like a Tron vibe to it, and I do love Tron, so I thought like, hey, you know what, let's use this instead. So let's give the music a listen to. And that's the end of that track for the video. I kind of ended it there, and then the other song kicks in, because the next song that you hear, after it does the intro, it has this nice build up, and then goes right into the good chunk of the song that's very fast paced. And I thought that transition worked really well for cresting over a lift hill. So I decided to use that song for the second half of the video, and the song you just heard for the first half, as it works good for an intro. And plus, it actually kind of like went in sync with going through the tunnel and then turning, going up the lift hill. It kind of like went into another phrase of the song. So let's see this transition from the first song to the second song going into the drop. So as you can see, what I was trying to do, I had the build up, kind of like, or the drop, whatever you want to call it, be the cresting over the lift hill, and then the actual beat one of the song being on the explosion of the spaceship. And that is sort of the end of that song, at least for the fast-paced part, and then it has a really nice, calm piano outro. Originally, I was going to be using this outro for when it's sitting on the block break on the brake run. But, of course, the one time I went to record this ride, it didn't sit on the brake run, it actually went into the station. So instead of having it sit on the brake run, listening to this next piano part, I instead decided to use it for the end screen, and to be honest, it sort of fit. So, yeah. You might have seen some keyframes over here. This is just to lower the volume, because I want the volume to be lowered at this part, so that way this section here of the game audio can be heard. So if I was to play back the game audio, you will hear that it kind of gets louder in certain spots. Pretty simple stuff. As for the video itself, you might have noticed that most of my videos recently are using motion blur on the on-ride perspective. For this video here, I didn't want to use motion blur because I felt like having motion blur in a dark place wouldn't really translate very well, especially when you don't really have many visuals happening. And then at the same time, this video here, you might have noticed that the frame rates is not as smooth or as consistent as my other videos. For almost all of my recent videos in 2019, I use a program called Cheat Engine that will allow me to slow the game down, and I can then record the game at a slower speed. And then when I go into this video editing software here, I would just take the video and hit the speed duration, and I would double it or quadruple it depending on how slow I recorded the game at. And then that would provide a much smoother video experience. I'll discuss further into that whole idea of recording at a slower speed whenever I do a behind the scenes of a creation that used that recording technique. But anyways, other than that, that will be it for today's behind the scenes video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys want to see more of this, let me know down in the comments below and what creation you want to see behind the scenes of next, alongside with any questions you may have about the creation that you've just mentioned. Be sure to join the Discord server if you haven't already, and check out my Twitch page if you want to see me live stream Planet Coaster. I do that pretty often, and other than that, I will see you guys later.